Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Kalpana. In today's lecture, we would be discussing definition of a state in the Indian Constitution. Basically decoding Article 12 of Indian Constitution, which is very important to understand the chapter of fundamental rights in our Constitution. Why it is important? Because there are certain fundamental rights which cannot be violated, but against who enforces, who has the duty. So Article 12 serves as foundational provision for enforcing fundamental rights enshrined in the part third of Indian Constitution. It precisely defines what constitutes the state, thereby delineating the entities against which these sacrosanct rights can be enforced by the citizens. Understanding this definition is important for navigating constitutional litigation. It is a constitutional mandate. Article 12 defines state. In this part, unless the context otherwise requires, state includes Government and Parliament of India, means union government, sometimes we call it central government, government and the legislature of each state, which we call in Hindi Vidhan Sabha, all local authorities which is having some control by the government, other authorities within the territory of India or under the control of Government of India, meaning thereby it is not exhaustive definition given by Article 12. It can include by certain test if we found during the test that it has some control by the Government of India, then it can be called state. So this comprehensive wording establishes a broad scope for accountability under the Constitution. What is the importance of Article 12 in Indian Constitution? So defining the realm of rights, scope of enforcement, we should know where it can be enforced and what is the scope of fundamental rights. So crucially defines the limits of fundamental rights enforcement under Article 13 to 35, determining who is bound by these constitutional guarantees. Citizens empowerment empowers citizens to enforce their fundamental rights exclusively against entities falling under state or its designated instrumentalities. Accountability framework establishes a private or semi-private governmental bodies can be held constitutionally accountable, ensuring a robust framework for rights protection. Dissecting the state now, what are the components of Article 12? The Government and Parliament of India encompasses both executive, for example, President, who is executive head of the state, Prime Minister, and Cabinet, and legislature, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and union level. This includes all their respective ministries and departments under state. Government and legislature of each state covers state executive, for example, governor, chief minister, state cabinet, and state legislature that is called Vidhan Sabha and Vidhan Parishad. Now coming to third, local authorities as defined under Section 3, Subclause 31 of Journal Clauses Act 1897. These includes bodies like municipalities, panchayats, district boards, and other bodies empowered to make rules, bylaws for specific localities. That's why they are called local authorities. Now coming to fourth point, that is other authorities. This is the most extensively litigated and judicially interpreted term, which has been seen its scope significantly broadened through landmark judgments over the time. Interpretation of other authorities, judicial pronouncement, a shifting landscape, University of Madras versus Shantabai, that case comes from 1954, adopted a narrow interpretation applying aegis dem generis rule. Other authorities were restricted to bodies performing governmental or sovereign functions similar to government and local authorities. This restrictive view was later superseded. There is another very important case, and it is a landmark judgment, Rajasthan Electricity Board versus Mohanlal. 1967 marked a significant expansion. Supreme Court held any authority created by the Constitution or statute possessing the power to make binding decisions affecting citizens falls under state, regardless of whether it performs governmental functions or not. Now, coming to another case which is very important of 1975, Sukhdev Singh versus Bhagat Ram. The court declared statutory corporations like ONGC, LIC, IFC to be the state. This ruling underscored that even if a body is a statutory corporation, it qualifies as a state. It performs public duties and operates under significant government control. We come across another case, Ramana Dayaram Shetty versus International Airport Authority in 1979, introduced the seminal five-factor test to determine whether a body is an instrumentality or agency of the state. This included factors like government shareholding, deep and pervasive control, functional importance, and governmental transfer of a department. Deepening the instrumentality test, there is another case, Ajay Hasia versus Khalid Mujid Sehrawardi in 1981, further expanded the instrumentality test to include non-statutory bodies. An educational society registered under Society Registration Act was deemed state, emphasizing a functional approach. It is immaterial whether the body is statutory or non-statutory, incorporated or not. The test is functional. Another case, Pradeep Kumar Vishwas versus Indian Institute of Chemical Biology 2002, reaffirmed the Ajay Hasia test, providing further clarity that court held functional and financial control by government are decisive factors. CSIR was categorized as state under Article 12 due to extensive government control. So now coming to conclude this lecture, definition of a state under Indian Constitution and key takeaways. Dynamic definition, the interpretation of a state under Article 12 has evolved significantly, reflecting the judiciary's commitment to holding entities accountable for fundamental rights violation. Beyond the government, it extends beyond the traditional governmental bodies to include public corporations and other entities acting as state instrumentalities. Functional test, the modern approach prioritizes the nature of functions performed and degrees of government control over the statutory nature of the body. So with this, I would end here. Happy learning. Thank you.